Hi, welcome to another episode of Pirate Talk presented by the guys here at Hazmat Hardware. You guys are in for a treat tonight, as always. So this is a industrial strength podcast focused on industrial hazmat responses. As always, I'm Steve, a hazmat technician on the emergency response team. And with me, as always, are Jeffrey and Randy.
And my name is Jeff, and it is not my fault this time. I'm a hazmat technician with 20 years in the fire department experience or service, 10 years in the industrial side. Take it away, Randy.
Hi, my name is Randy. Last week, these guys promised me puppies and candy. This week, it's free beer and hot wings. It's hard to say no. I don't know. So I'm back once again. 18 years. Fire service, industrial side, mainly doing hazmat. I'm a specialist.
I'm special.
I'm special.
Oh, it's so special.
It's me, special.
So, we have a special night tonight. I do believe we are celebrating someone's birthday.
Oh, that's true.
Who could that be?
And
Randy.
Oh, not me, friendo.
So, and here on Hazmat Hardware, we have a little tradition when we're celebrating someone's birthday. We do it in style.
Oh.
With shots.
Shots. Uh-oh. Oh, hell.
And there's that pirate talk coming in.
Ah, that's PG at best. All right, we're doing shots.
On the count
We're
of
doing
three.
shots.
Uno, dos,
Dos.
You, Jeffrey.
Trace.
Trace.
Ah, yeah. Good stuff.
Yes, it is.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, delicious.
Now, just like we all did a triple shot there. Literally.
Yes, I like that segue. That's awesome.
We're going to talk about triple threats tonight.
Yes. So, which I think it's a great conversation to have, because this kind of goes back to a question I think we've touched on before, like, what's the capacity that your team has for answering calls, right? It goes back to size of team, equipment. Sometimes I think we've talked about mutual aid as well, but this call is something that, Steve, you kind of picked up on as a topic for us tonight. And I think it's good to illustrate not only the capacity of our team, but to think about if other teams, other industrial hazmat teams and industrial fire departments would have the capacity to do something like this as well. So, why don't you get us into it?
That is correct.
This was a call that was evolving as we went through it as well.
Mhm.
Yep. So, I mean, like every other department out there, our frequency of calls base kind of varies. Sometimes we get one call a day, sometimes one a week, one a month if we're lucky. I don't know that there's anyone, at least in our area, and probably not too many other than major metropolitan areas out there that even have this number of calls for hazmat response come in one day. And that was, we ended up with 3 calls in a single 8-hour shift period.
Yeah.
Has about a single 3-hour period, but yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure like maybe New York, right? Because they're busy, and especially when you're talking about like lithium-ion battery fires with bikes and scooters and all that godforsaken stuff. I'm sure they might be getting triples in a day, but outside of that, I think it'd be pretty hard.
And so, as Jeff kind of touched on, this wasn't just 3 in one 8-hour shift for us. It was actually one call in a particular building that kind of evolved into 3 individual calls that we took care of while on scene for that first call.
Yeah.
Agreed, yeah. It's a little unusual how it came about. Yeah, it definitely and grew. We showed up for 1 and took on 3. So,
and they all could have had potential consequences as well. So,
yeah. So, yeah, for certain. A lot of work.
This particular call, I believe our first call that we showed up for was to help clean and mitigate some pyridine drums, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
that
and
had
this
some
is
residue on top.
Right, this is a problem that I think For anyone else who works in the industry, might encounter this where these drums will come off a truck from transport, and they come in contaminated. And in the hurry of bringing things on to get the truck driver cleared, the warehouse crew isn't watching what they're grabbing and bringing in, and they could have easily just as rejected this, but instead they brought it in, and now it becomes our problem.
Yep.
So, if I remember right, Jeffrey, weren't you the Hazmat operations lead on this one?
I believe that I drew the short straw on this one. Yes, that is correct. Yep.
If you wanna, since you were that lead, you wanna take us over a little bit of an overview of what we did on this one?
Well, all right, so we did have, I believe there's about 12 drums of pyridine, but that wasn't everything. We also had several drums. I'm going by memory, 6 or so. I don't remember what the 6 drums were.
Trimethyl phosphate, maybe?
Yeah.
Yes, that nasty smell and stuff.
That was the 7, I believe. There's 6 other ones.
Yes, so I believe, I think we'll get to that in our third round, because off the top of my head, I gotta think of what it was as well.
Trichloroacetyl chloride.
Yes, that is it.
No.
Yeah, because I think when it hits water, it turns into HCl. Breaks down, turns into HCl. Yeah.
So, we want to start with a pyridine.
Yeah, sure. Pyridine. This is all swearing.
Well, I think, why don't we start with throwing up kind of a layout of the building
Yeah, that's
that
a good
we
idea.
responded
I think
to.
there is a picture of that.
And you got an image?
It looks like a great image.
There we go.
There it is.
So, as you
really
can kind of
those-
see there in the upper right corner, there's 2 big roll-up doors. And then in the lower right corner, we had a manned service door and a sliding door. But everything else in that room was mostly materials.
Yeah, it was kind of a cramped scene for everything that we needed to do in reality.
Yeah.
With the TMPs, the drums were very. I think the integrity of the drums were pretty sketchy at best.
Well, they all came in with issues, if I remember right.
Yeah.
And like this room that we're showing the image of, I don't want people like freak out like they're not following NFPA. This is like a special room for problem children drums, that are kind of quarantined. So when they need to be evaluated or handled, they get moved here. So they're almost, I don't know if you want to think about like prison. They're pulled out of Gen Pop. They're put in this isolation cell. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's good airflow that's moving through here. It's not open to the outside, but it is open to the outside.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's definitely an area where if something went wrong, it was engineered to allow it to go without harming the rest of the building.
So, and I think we need to start with the TMP drums.
Okay.
Which are the bottom, bottom right. We had 7 drums of those with, like the caps showed signs of leakage, and there was actually some residue around the bunk caps.
Yeah.
Randy being our chemist here, really was key into this whole thing as to what we're going to do with this one.
Yeah.
But the leakage did appear from the bunk cap area, indicating a potential issue with the ceiling, or maybe even the overfilling of those drums.
Yep. Yeah, because I seem to remember like when they came in, there was dialogue with the provider, the material provider, about how best to decon it, like what they suggested, and kind of went off of that. They had a couple different suggestions, and as a team, we picked one of those and ran with it because it was going to be easier on us, less calories to burn, especially in suits.
Yeah, so actually what we did with that one is we did do that one first because it gave us a little bit more room to deal with those other 2 issues that we had going on.
Yep. So TMP, really what we did was we were worried about whether the cap still had integrity, whether it was tightened down enough, right? So, because once again, sometimes we'll get those drums where the caps just aren't on well enough and allows material to seep out, especially on warm days or with movement and sloshing around. And so we wanted to make sure that we got rid of the visible residue, right? So that was because for us, it's a contamination issue, and we're always trying to make sure that when these drums get moved around, the rest of the personnel on site don't actually come in contact with it, right? So we're worried about that kind of liability, that kind of safety.
Yep.
So we wanted to make sure we clean that stuff up. And so really, I think what we did is we went down first, almost like trying to remove visible residue with rags first, and then this stuff will break down with water slowly. And some other solvents will break it down too. And so what we want to do is try to remove the decontamination from the top of the drum. I think that's what we initially went with, if I remember right. So we wanted to do that. So first try to remove whatever we could with the dry rag, the solids that were there. And then I think we're going to do a wet rag to remove whatever wasn't easily removable. And
So
then,
when we say a wet rag, it was a damp rag. We didn't want to drip water all over the place and then contaminate other stuff. So
true.
Yep. Let's make sure that we're clear on that one. But
And that was a simple process of we kind of had a bucket of clean water. We dipped the rag in it and then wrung the rag out so that we didn't have any excess water flinging around before we wiped the tops of those drums.
Right. Yeah. And so it worked out pretty well, I think.
Yep. I agree. So here's where we could have a sticking point. You know, people are going to say, well, why did you do this? Well, you know, as far as our PPE, Stephen, what PPE did we use?
So for him, it's kind of hard to elaborate without knowing, hey, we have an ever-evolving situation that we knew we had other scenarios we were going to be dealing with, because my typical choice for this particular operation would have probably been some chem gloves and an apron with a face shield at most.
Yeah.
At most, I agree. Yep.
This is a dried residue, and it's not active liquid product. So
Yep.
It would make sense.
Now, however, we knew we were going to have some calls that we were going to be moving into kind of rapidly after this that would require a little bit more protection factor for us. So we decided to try and save ourselves a little bit of time from swapping either entry team personnel or PPE levels between scenarios here. And we just went straight to a level B suit with our chem gloves and latex gloves underneath and wore a face shield for adequate protection in case there was too much excess water on those rags that we didn't anticipate.
Yep.
That being said, though, we didn't wear the hoods up on the level B suits because we weren't really concerned about getting it up on the top of our heads or the back of our heads.
Yeah.
And it was a little bit warmer day, so we were trying to keep cool as long as we could.
Right, yeah, because, I mean, for maybe the benefit of the listener, when we came into this initially, I think the TMP was the thing we came there for, the trimethyl phosphate. And
it was.
And when we did the recon, the warehouse crew was like, hey, guess what, fellas? ... Glad you're here. And then
Because
let us know about the other two things that we had. So we came in for one thing, we're doing recon on it, and we got dropped on twice over, which is kind of where I think the choice for B's was the better choice, because you're right, like solid product and stuff. Yeah, you could probably get away with a C or even altered level gear, but knowing that we have the other two waiting in the wings, and we'll get into those, level B made it the better option.
Yeah, because really, again, we both, or that you guys both emphasize this, level B's is probably way overkill.
Mm-hmm.
But, all right, so continue with that for our waste disposal.
Yeah.
I think all we did is just bag up all of our gloves, and I believe the rags. We put that in a bag and sent that out for disposal. I mean, that was easy. That was an easy peasy. nice and easy. So
Yeah.
and the
And that's
drums
the
just turn
beauty
it
of
right back over.
maybe working in industrial facilities, we have chem waste luggers. So we have the ability to throw this stuff away relatively easily. And it goes with the regular chemical waste that we would generate in the plant. So not that big a deal. It's not like we need special remediation or special hallway service for this. So works out well.
So I believe as we were getting ready to actually go down range and actually mitigate these drums is when the warehouse operation personnel kind of went, hey, we have another scenario. Are you guys here to check that out?
And that's pretty much how that went. That Steve is not wrong with that one.
Their actually says, "Wow, what?"
So, what was that second scenario that they kind of sprung on us thinking we already knew about?
Yeah. So are we talking about the pyridine finally?
Yes.
Yeah, we can talk about that one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So, they were unloading a trailer. Once again, like I said, we get a bunch of stuff in by semi truck. We get a bunch of stuff in by rail. We're a pretty active facility, but while unloading a trailer, they had 3 pallets of pyridine, so 12 drums total, 4 drums per pallet, 3 pallets. And they reported a strong chemical odor from the truck while they were unloading. And this is not unusual. It's not the first time this has ever happened. We get this call occasionally. And it varies based on where the truck came from and the temperatures inside the box. But so they reported during unloading, strong odor. We're not sure what's going on. We want you guys to look at this stuff. And that's
So
what they gave us.
They also said that they needed respirators when they were unloading this.
Yeah. ...
Come on.
Right. Which is highly unusual for that crew. So, I mean, their typical operation for unloading does not involve respirators. I'm surprised they had them on hand.
Typically, if they need a respirator, they're still not putting it out and dealing with it. They're just immediately calling us to come over.
Right. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what anyone else's warehouse crew is like, but that's kind of ours.
Ours are pretty lazy.
And pretty
pretty resistant
jumpy
to
when it
changing from the
comes.
way they like to operate.
Yes. I would say they're pretty jumpy when it comes to anything out of a perfect scenario, too.
Right. They like the routine, and anything that goes off of routine really irritates them. So,
But with
So,
that being
again-
said, I didn't actually smell any odor coming out of it that would have made me think I needed a respirator at the time that we were there. Did you guys?
no.
I think that Randy and I did manage to get some vapors out of it.
Right. We got some vapors, but it wasn't like strong enough where we needed respirators.
No, but again, we're out in an environment that's very open. Not
Right.
an
It was
enclosed
not in the back of the
environment.
trailer anymore. You're right, 100% on
Yeah.
that. So it could have been cooped up and could have been pretty strong for them.
Yep. So our initial assessment on that, upon arrival, the following conditions were observed. There were 3 pallets still wrapped in plastic. Each pallet contained the 4 drums, totaling at 12 drums, like Randy said. And there was no visible signs of leakage and no apparent odor detected externally at that point. I'm
Time to
trying
go
do
to a
this
3-gas.
I'm trying to do this the proper way. To verify the drum's integrity, the following actions were taken. The plastic was open from the top and each pallet to access.
This is like shrink wrap plastic, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. All right.
The protective caps were removed and the bunk caps were checked for tightness. However,
Now,
prior
how did
to
we
that,
check those for tightness, though?
well,
I think, Steve, you had some spinach and Jeff had his Wheaties.
there might have been a couple of donkey kicks on the barrels themselves.
No, I don't think you're thinking of the right drums. We haven't got to those ones yet.
Oh gosh, am I this wrong once? Holy hell, they're all this. It all blends in.
No, these are the ones that we simply did a check for
Oh,
tightness
you're
while
right.
we were
Okay. Yep.
mitigating.
All right, so the donkey kicks will come later. Yeah, I gave it away. Darn it. It'll be okay.
Yep. So,
Donkey kicks were great though.
they are. they leave some stress. uh, no, but this was a nice one because while we were kind of between our two different calls at this point, there was some discussion on how the first one went, and we were making sure that we had everything aligned for the third one yet to come. There was someone on our team nice enough to go over and pre-cut that plastic for us, so we weren't having to do that in full PPE.
Man, there was some motherfucker that was smart that did that.
Yeah. Every once in a while, a blind squirrel can find a nut, you know?
Yeah, every once in a while.
So, and then we removed the actual metal protective cap on these bungs. There was no liquid.
Right. You may want to touch on that, Steve, because I don't know how many people, if they're not familiar with receiving drums, they might not know about that cap.
Yeah, so on these were a full metal drum, 55-gallon drum, that have a metal bung cap as well.
It's like a dust cap, right?
Yeah, and then it comes with a thin layer metal protective dust cap almost, but it's actually manufactured and sealed right in place at the filling facility to where you're not going to get it off by hand. So it's actually got two little tabs on it that if you grab a pair of pliers and pull on it, you can rip it open and pull that dust cap off.
You know, it reminds me of those stupid Babel cheeses, you know, with the wax plastic on it.
Yes.
Where you grab the tab, you peel it back, and the cap does the same thing.
It never
works. You have to wind up tearing the stupid cover off. Anyway, same like the drum sometimes. It doesn't work. You got to rip it off.
Technique.
Yeah.
But once we pulled those caps off, there was no visible liquid inside of the actual bung caps or around the rims of them. And still no real odor was detected for this particular call from our end. So we proceeded to just verify that all of the caps were snug. And we did that by using a wrench that's actually dedicated and manufactured for these style of caps. In our case in particular, this is a non-sparking style. So we can use it on any type of material.
Right. And for those who aren't savvy on that, typically the non-sparking tools are made out of beryllium.
Yep.
Which a little more expensive, almost makes it look bronzy in color, but really nice because once again, it will not spark with flammable materials.
So all we did was do a quick snug check, just like you would have on a torque wrench for bolt. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we had maybe 3 caps that were slightly loose. At best.
3 or 4,
The rest were tight. I think they got maybe a 4th or 5th one to move, but in this particular case, we had a newer person on the call who didn't have a whole lot of experience, and they admitted that they're a big proponent of over-tightening rather than tightening to spec. So I'm going to go with we probably only had 2 or 3 that were actually loose in any sort.
Yep.
You got to be careful of that over-tightening thing, especially, I mean, that's a good point to bring up with that new member, because if this were a plastic drum with a plastic bung cap, if you over-tighten those, you can actually
strip it right out.
Strip it right out or split the plastic bung port on the drum, and then you have a forever leak. Like, it's going to forever off gas until you've emptied it.
Then we have a bad day.
So, because then you have to wind up epoxying it or transferring the drum. But just a side note, just the over-tightening thing, like, struck me because I was kind of looking at that at another job today, another hazmat job we might have next week. So, but
nope. This is for those of you out there that aren't aware of how these work. It's not a tighten until you can stop feeling movement, pulling on it as hard as you can with a wrench. Once it stops moving by hand, maybe 1/8 of a turn at most with these drum wrenches, and that's on the metal ones. On the poly ones, usually just a quick push on the wrench, not even 1/8 of a turn.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about some PPE that we used.
Yeah.
So there was a little bit of thought that went into this. Our entry team, since we were already dressed in level Bs, we did continue with that. We had latex gloves under the chemical resistant gloves that were new and changed out. We had chem boots and face shields. Again, once everything was done, the tools were rinsed with water to remove any contaminants. Face shields were cleaned thoroughly, and used gloves were disposed of. What were some of our takeaways, Randy?
So why weren't level B hoods once again worn under the face shield? Because once again, this was they were complaining about odor, not like liquid, not like a leak, not spills. So we weren't super worried about contact with the head and face. So face shield was considered good enough, especially for what we're doing, working on a tightening operation. So it was an elected choice by the team to do it that way, because looking at the hazard, considering it, we weren't worried about contact beyond the face shield. We weren't actually worried about spray or anything like that. So not a concern. And then
here's the biggest one.
Yeah. Why didn't we use meter detection around the drums for LEL prior to performing the task?
Which I thought was a great thought-provoking question, actually.
Right, and I mean, it's
after the fact.
Yeah, it's simple enough to do. Right.
All right. So I had to answer to the chief as to why this was not being done.
Well, that's an uncomfortable feeling. ... Okay, well then, what did you tell the chief? What did you spin on him? Because I wasn't privy to that conversation.
I felt as though, since there was no leakage, there was very minimal fumes, and really, for us, we couldn't smell anything.
Right.
We were just tightening the drums. There was, I don't even think there was any liquid. I thought we were dressing the appropriate PPE to do a tighten. If there was visible vapor and or liquid, I think that would have probably changed our approach.
Agreed.
In hindsight, a 4-gas meter probably wouldn't have hurt.
No, but I think maybe a more elegant choice, because I don't think there was enough vapors. Once again, it was very hard to smell to begin with, and once it was out of the truck. And I don't know, because we never smelled it in the truck.
Right.
But if it's hard to smell outside the truck, I don't think your 4-gas is going to register anything. I think the only meter you could have taken to maybe register anything might have been a PID, to be honest.
And maybe I would have just used a 4-gas only due to the LEO. That's the only thing I would have looked at.
And similar to you, Jeff, I kind of had to justify our reasoning on this in our hot wash afterwards with the chief. This particular material is something that my unit actually uses on a routine basis, and we open the drums wide open to physically charge them into vessels. So, like you said, with this scenario, there was no active vapor coming out of them or liquid on top. So we were well below what a normal operating standard would have been, that we don't use meters in production. And the fact that we had that non-sparking drum wrench, I wasn't really concerned about any LEL issue being a factor when we were just checking snugness.
Yep. And I can assure to you that Chief was okay when we explained it to him as our reasoning. He's like, oh, okay. I was just checking as to making sure you are really covering your bases.
I think that was a good job by the chief, just to make sure we're thinking about it, right? So doing almost like a safety roll and make sure we had considered the options and we could verbalize the choices we made, which I think is a lot of the battle, is being able to think about it and verbalize the choices you make and have them be logical.
Yeah, actually, the chief took a very much a background role on this one. He was in and out. He left us to do our thing. I know that he knew he had a competent crew in there, so.
Yep. But on that note, I think what we're going to do is we're going to break this episode into 2. So we've gotten to 2 of the 3. I think so. We're at our time. So I think what we're going to do is take a break here for now. I think what we're going to do is we're going to come back to it on the next episode, finish up the 3rd one, and I think we'll have a couple other points.
That is,
it's one of our favorite chemicals.
Gave you some hints. Sorry.
It may or may not be the most interesting of the 3 that we dealt with.
Yes. So it is worth it, and I know, Steve. I think you have a nice image to go along with what we have. So it is phenomenal.
Some images I don't even think I could have put up for the butt pucker factor, but
No, you couldn't have. I agreed.
But we'll save that as our cliffhanger for next episode. So tune back in because definitely a picture is worth 1,000 words and you'll want to see the picture. So
Fair enough.
all right. So if anyone has questions, comments, concerns, thoughts for an episode, or comments on an episode we did, maybe joining our experiences with theirs and letting us know what they've experienced. So Steve, how did they get a hold of us?
Randy, as always, they can reach us at hazmatharder@gmail.com.
That's usually
Excellent.
my spot, but I'm already offline because my internet is awful.
It's reverse day. Steve's doing the pirate talk.
Oh, fair enough. That is true. Love it.
All right. Well, then I think what we'll do is we'll sign off and then stay tuned for the next episode. It will be an excellent listen. Promise. Until then,
next time.
everybody, Hazmat Harder.
Hazmat
Thank you.
Harder.